bullshit blazing, still my heart is blazing. If the words kill me, I don't need a new one under you. Soon you will know, we already know the smell of the game. Do you know who you are when you think your words don't sound like your own? You're trapped in the toxic created by this world. That is who you are. No sign of losing that life must be get some time to wake up. Crawling in kisses on the ground. That is bullshit blazing, still my heart is blazing. If I lose my wings, I don't need a new world under you. Can't feel a thing, we already know the smell of the game. Remember you are blazing, still your heart is blazing. If the world made you, I don't need a new world under you. Soon you will know, we already know the smell of the game. What am I? What am I? What am I? What am
Mankind knew that they cannot change society, so instead of reflecting on themselves, they blamed the beasts. But they found beauty in the lives of beasts and couldn't lie to themselves about it.
And this is no part of the world. But no one can break me. Can't you see I'm blazing? Still my heart is blazing. If the words kill me, I don't need a new world under you. My time is my word. Your words will never let me disappear. That is bullshit blazing. Still my heart is blazing. If the words kill me, I don't need a new world under you. Soon you will know, we already know the smell of the, know the smell of the, know the smell of the, know the smell of the game.
Hello and welcome to another episode of CRT Sound System. We've got episode 47 when we're talking about Guilty Gear Strive. And I am here as always with Reese. Reese, how are you?
I'm incredible. How are you, Tom?
I'm fantastic. Yeah, I just had a great time listening to just Smell of the Game, which is it's just an incredible song to start with. And we've got a fantastic guest joining us this week, Trev from the No Cartridge podcast.
Hey.
Trev, how are you?
Good. Hey, Tom. Hey, Reese. How are both of you doing? What you just
Doing
said. I'm
great.
sorry.
Very,
Yeah.
very excited to finally speak directly with the author of the Stephen A. Smith Holocaust tweet.
I know it's it's important that people talk to me to get the real dirt behind
The real,
that tweet. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, no, it's critical.
How
No,
you
yeah.
doing, Trev? It's really
Oh,
exciting to have you on.
yeah, no, excited to be here. I'm excited too. I've always been a big fan of the Guilty Gear soundtrack, in part because this is one of the first fighting games that I knew about outside of Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. And it was because like my friends in seventh grade or whatever were like, this game is like about metal, and I was like, oh, I love metal. And like the ways in which that is both true and not true are really like wrapped up in the soundtrack here. So no, I'm amped to talk about it. It was fun. It was fun revisiting. I'm so bad at it. I keep thinking that I'm gonna try my best to become like a Chiffs Enough main and like just run the table on people or whatever. It never quite comes to pass, but it'd be fun if it did. But listening to it is still as energizing as ever.
It's yeah, it'll just fully pump you up no matter what.
Yep.
So yeah, we usually do just get our guests to do a quick rundown on what the game is.
Sure.
So just for anybody who happens to be uninitiated on Guilty Gear and Strive specifically, if you want to give a little quick intro on the game.
Sure. So lore wise, the gears. I don't know.
No, don't even start.
There's a yeah.
I
There's
watched a lore video and I was just out for 48 hours.
You watched a lore video? Oh boy, that was brave.
Well, I didn't know. I certainly could not glean anything from Strive. So.
I streamed Strive exactly once, and it was I made the mistake of just like going into the story section and being like, now what's all this? And I started a video and it was a half-hour episode of anime, and I was like, okay, wait, I'm in way too deep. This is not good. So no, I don't know why these people are fighting. I'm going to be real with you. I have no clue. They're fighting the government, something. One of the guys is the president. One of the people you can fight as is the president, which is cool. There's a guy who's kind of an anti-hero named Soul Bad Guy, which I think is really fun. But mostly it's a fighting game. It's an anime fighter. And anime fighters, generally when you say that, you're talking about Guilty Gear or Grand Blue or Under Night. These games that are very anime in their aesthetics, and then also are typically sort of like 2 to 2.5D. Very, very rich cell shading and cell work, and often technically demanding. So they expect like you need to know about iframes if you're playing this. You need to know about how to get into unblockable combos if you're playing this. Like, this is one of those games where you're gonna have to read up on the mechanics so much that you will not even have time to read up on the lore. But it is it's colorful, it's fun. Strive especially is like bombastic. It has a ton of really, really fun cutaways to, like, if you do your special move, your character is giving some sort of monologue to the enemy before he punches them through a wall. It has great character designs. Bridget is one of my faves, but also Eno and I don't even know, but like
I think it's got to be Eno. It's surely a Brian Eno reference. That's what my thinking has always been.
It makes sense, yeah. Some of the references are a little harder to get. Like Testament is obviously a reference to Testament, but it's less clear who Eno's a reference to. But Brian Eno seems about right. I would assume the smell of the game is a reference to Smell the Glove. But perhaps not. No, yeah, it's a
yes. We with no backing evidence, we're saying yes here in the
podcast. 1,000,000% right. But yeah, it's this game where it's like a lot of material from Japan that is like wholeheartedly in its own bag, kind of, for lack of a better word. Like, it is unapologetically into the like this like ultra niche thing of like a lot of, I mean, like, it's really a wide spread of like 80s, 90s, 2000s metal of all genres. And then also it is completely not about that, and it's a fighting game. So you sort of have these two things that are it's equally both important that it's a fighting game and not important at all that it's a fighting game. It's important that it's metal and not at all important that it's metal. And they sort of like you have to hold these in two hands at the
Yeah.
same time.
And it's important that it's anime, and also not important that it's anime. Yeah.
It's also important that Bill Clinton talked about it one time.
Really?
This is yeah. I wonder if I could find that and send it to
Bill Clinton went long on Meet the Press about Bridget's.
Yeah, he apparently he's in Guilty Gear Strive. I didn't realize they put him in there. But he holds up an ad for Guilty Gear, and it says like,
Yeah,
kill
I
your
remember that.
friends or something like that.
Yeah.
He was like, how dare you say kill your friends?
Yeah, no, I definitely remember that. There's as much lore outside of the game about this game as there is in the game, I think, at this stage. Because like Strive itself it's the fourth numbered game, I suppose, if you want to call it that, in the series. But like these have existed since the PlayStation 1. Like the very first one was a PlayStation exclusive.
Mhm.
And then they went on to the PS2. It was the PS2 where I sort of discovered the series.
Same,
Um,
yeah.
when all my mates were sort of like, it was sort of in the dark period for fighting games where none of them were really coming out. What did come out was generally a very bad port. So like the ones that played well on your PS2, like Guilty Gear, were sort of the ones that my friend group sort of gravitated towards for the most part, and like
It was a real arcade time for fighting games too, I think, where
mm,
like you could probably find Street Fighter Alpha 3 and like
yeah,
play a fun version of it. But the important thing is you play it at an arcade, because if you're playing it on your console, it's just going to be a mess.
yeah. Yeah, and like, I think that at the time as well, the fact that it had an anime aesthetic was probably a big draw for people, because anime
Oh,
was
totally.
still sort of a little bit less mainstream compared to how it is these days. So
Absolutely.
there was definitely that element to it, and obviously the music then, like just that heavy rock. Even though I feel like it really took a while for the music to sort of stand out on its own, I think. Um,
It's interesting, like re-listening to it for the podcast. Like
mm,
the what strikes me about Guilty Gear's music is how, well, actually, like the funny thing is, like I would say the one that's not like this is smell of the game, which does kind of sound like, I mean, for lack of a better word, sort of like anime metal. Like I don't know if either of you have watched Kaiji, the
Oh my
brilliant
God,
Kaiji.
yes.
Okay, yeah, it's a fantastic show. You need to watch it, Tom. It's a perfect show. It's about a gambler. Um, it's so good.
That's a great pull, honestly. That's
Oh,
very
thank
interesting.
you. But there's a in the second season, there's this, the theme song changes from like this sort of like almost like not quite pop punk, but like a sort of like rollicking punk song. It changes
okay.
to this like screamo song, and
Okay.
it's very strange. I don't know if you remember this, Reese, but it's catchy after a while, and you realize it's catchy because like it's screamo and weird, but it also basically is like, it's the same kind of thing that most anime OPs are, where it's like um it's like poppy and fun and has a good beat and all. And
Yeah.
I think, there is metal on the soundtrack that sounds like that, but there's also metal that is very much like not just Americanized, but like also kind of like ties into the weird sort of Swedish prog stuff or the black metal or
Mm,
whatever. Like there's stuff on here that sounds like it's off of, a speed metal record or a legit prog metal record, and I think that's pretty cool.
yeah.
Like I don't think there's a lot of games out there that are that interested in doing that.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true, and like it is, you definitely see it more with Xrd and Strive, where they're sort of pushing into that a little bit more, whereas
Do you mean
um
Guilty Gear Xrd Revelator?
yeah. I'm not going to give that the benefit of the full title. I don't have time. But like because the original game and like the the Double X games, you can definitely hear a sound that he's sort of working towards, but it's like it's not quite there yet.
Yeah,
And I think the missing link as well to it is, and we'll probably try not to talk too much about this on this episode, but the missing link to that is probably the Blaze Blue soundtracks, which is where I think he sort of allowed himself to go a little bit weirder with things.
totally.
And sort of bring in some of those sort of poppier elements and bring in some like trance and stuff like that into it. That I think then when he comes back here, he was able to sort of focus in a bit more and sort of be like, okay, this is now the metal game.
Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it definitely gives it a bit more focus with these ones. So yeah, I think with that we'll probably jump into the first block of tracks anyway. So all the music, actually, I suppose we should probably talk about Daisuke in the next block. But so the music is all written by Daisuke Ishiwatari, and vocals, the male vocals are all done by Naoki Hashimoto, and the female vocals done by a performer called Aisha. So the first track we have is Find Your One Way, which is the Soul Bad Guy theme. Then we have The Roar of the Spark, which is the Kai Kisuke theme. And lastly then is The Disaster of Passion, which is May's theme.
burns my eyes. What a strange descent. Sound becomes hot again. Never ending wide. Forgot what I want. Is this Arcadia? I don't know what's right for the world. Oh, I may have lost my way. There's no reason to doubt it now. So what do I have to feel? Under the sacred wires, never stop, just go. I don't care how many more stars again. Here in the pale fire, I'm doing as well as I can. I hope my path will be a candlelight for someone to follow. Terror of the spark! Time to be able to see. It is hard to breathe. The light goes out again. Never-ending road, a place without color. That's the world we can't die. That's right, go. Don't look back. I can't believe in the path I'm on. Wait, why? So what do I have to be? Under the lonely moon, in only flux words. This motion with my colors. Here in the pale fire, I'm going as far as I can to keep that flow alive. Under the sacred wires, never stop, just go. I don't care how many more stars again. Yeah, here in the pale fire, I'm going as far as I can. It will be endless, and it's never end. Hoping to build the world with all kinds of light.
Over time, most things fade away. Isn't that right? All of the memories dissolve. The sunshine, the breeze song go by. No matter how big it is, its time will come. It will be reborn as something new. The full moon, bright balloons. Only my feelings will ever grow. And on these swallows, so that's me. Non-stop love song. I will follow you wherever you go. I can't wait to catch up before the sun sleeps. Not if you're short of breath. I'm the disaster of fashion. All you need to know is one or two things or a few. I'm I'm alone, but I'm not alone. You know that, right? Trees and rain, now and then. I can't live without that precious one. On season follow, so that's me. Springtime, Cinderella. I will follow you wherever you go. I can't wait to catch up before the sun sleeps. Not if you're short of breath. Just so you know, please don't think you're going to get away with it. Okay.
So yeah, let us talk about Daisuke.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so like yeah, he's does all the music for it, but he's also like he does the art for these games. He does like the main sort of design for them, and does voice acting as well, as Reese revealed during the bit there as well. But like, yeah, he's basically just been the sort of the main force behind this series from day one, which is like it's very cool, and it really sort of shows the sort of like I suppose the dedication, but also just like the you know somebody being in their own bag.
Yeah.
Just like that sort of personality type is the only kind of person that can come up with a series like Guilty Gear.
Well, it's interesting because like you do see a lot of like there's a lot of kind of like compelling creators like this. We were talking before the show about Higurashi and like Ryukichi 07, who does Higurashi and Umineko, are like he's an interesting guy because he just kind of like got really into doing his own thing enough that now he's writing like the next Silent Hill game, and it's like I think like you know the energy of being a person who is so into their one specific thing that they do it even if they made no money is, I mean, it's
Yeah.
overdone, but it is certainly a specific type of person, and Daisuke seems to be that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and it definitely gets you things that are as idiosyncratic as Guilty Gear and Blaze Blue for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think like, you know, pitching this game to like anyone when it came out, and people being like, well, okay, like is it easy to pick up? And like, no, absolutely, it's not. It's extremely hard to pick up.
Yeah.
Like, you know, this is when like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was coming out, and I could beat my friend in it because he didn't know that like you just do the Hadouken and Spider-Man will fly it and off the screen and hurt you. Like it's, you know, as much as I love Marvel vs. Capcom 2, I mean a whole episode could be done on the menu select music. Like the, you know, Guilty Gear is just like it's so the opposite. It's closer to something like King of Fighters, but I mean, then you're pitching someone on like a Neo Geo game, and I don't know, like I can't imagine this ever being something that anyone thought would make money.
Yeah. I mean, it took a while, certainly.
No, yeah, sure.
You know, like
It was absolutely inscrutable. I was aware of Guilty Gear for quite some time. My first time I encountered it in the arcade, I think I was on a cruise ship with the
Ooh.
family on a vacation, and it was
Let's
in the
go.
arcade. And I was just like, it was almost like scary. I was like, what is this like super anime, super well done game with this music that there's just like, was surrounded by the same like four people who would obliterate me every time I put in I put in money, and it was just like I felt like a real almost dread around it, where it was just like Eno was gonna crawl out of the screen like the Ring, and it's been interesting, kind of like seeing it kind of emerge in pop culture, not just because of Bridget, although that's certainly its own conversation, but just how it being its own thing for so long and so much separately its own thing has finally resonated. And it was like, it's like, for me, who doesn't really play fighting games at all and isn't familiar with it, like dabbling through Strive and just like seeing the way that like the track for your stage would start and you sweep into these like beautiful landscapes, and like even for a total non-fighting game player playing on like training mode, I was like, felt like, okay, let's lock in, let's
Yeah.
destroy this giant robot that is been programmed not to fight back. It still kind of still feels awesome. But
Totally.
like reading about it, and it felt in the mechanics like it felt good to push the buttons, etc. And then like you read up on it and you're just like, whew, well, I would like to get through Ulysses, so maybe I won't get into Guilty Gear, but
I've already taken in all the lore of every MiHoYo game. I can't possibly. My brain can't possibly handle another multiverse. Thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Like it is a little bit like my experience with a fighting game like that. Like you had, Reese, was when I played Killer Instinct at a vacation with my family at like the free arcade, and one of the, like, I was just messing around with Spinal or whatever, and the person who ran the arcade was like, "Oh, can I try?" I was beaten so badly that I still remember it. Like I think it was like one long combo, and I never touched him, and I was like, "Huh." People better at this than me. But like there's a similarity there in that, like, both games have incoherent lore. It's just that Guilty Gear's lore is incoherent in a very Japanese way, which is to say, yeah, and then not a very American way. The incoherent American lore is basically, we didn't try hard enough. So like, there's some stuff where like we made someone time travel for no reason or whatever. And an incoherent Japanese lore is always like, oh no, we tried way too hard and wrote 7 books about this, of varying quality.
Yeah, there's a 6-hour visual novel you have to play before you can even begin to understand the lore.
No, like I like the lore video I watch is just sort of like tuned out, unable to process, and I tune back in, and just like the White House was taking to the sky and going to Mexico, which was threatening global thermonuclear war, and I was like, okay.
Listen, you got to do what you got to do.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
this is why we fight.
It is interesting though, because like, not to jump the gun on Bridget, but like, I think what's interesting about doing a game with such kind of like complicated elements is, like plot elements, is that you can do things with like gender and identity that are extremely complex and other things aren't talking about, but like work because, or like are more palatable to the creators maybe because they are embedded in such a like a long story, right? Like
Yeah.
there's
Absolutely.
like there's all the talk about Bridget, like, well, what does Bridget identify as, right? Like there's a point where Bridget is telling her brother, like, oh, like I'm just a boy who likes to dress like this. And then there's a moment where Bridget says, no, I'm a woman, and it's an ultra complex statement of identity that's never like right or wrong. It's always just kind of like how Bridget is accomplishing their identity, and like that is hard to do in a short thing. It's very easy to do when you've written 7 books and you're like, we can spend time with Bridget. She works out who she is. I think that's cool. Like, I think, it's very, people are going to tell you it's very anime or whatever, and that's true. But that's the benefit of that sort of thing. You get time to really like get comfortable with the characters in the game if you give it a chance.
Well, one could say it's very anime, but it's very easy for anime to get real reductive with that stuff. But,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, this does much better. This is not Catherine.
no, but I do think Guilty Gear does it well. And what I think is the kind of underlined point for me from what you said is that it gives them the ability to work through it as well. Because like the start of Bridget's character might be like something that might be a little bit more controversial, where my understanding is that like she was forced to become a girl because of like this thing in the town where you weren't allowed to have two twin boys.
Yeah,
And
something
she
along
didn't
those
want
lines.
to be a girl. And so it was very much like something that could have gone another direction in the story in terms of representation and like the tone.
1000%, yes. Yeah.
And it feels like something where they were just like, I don't know the identities of the people working on Guilty Gear, but it seems like there's some sympathy. Listening to what I heard about Testament as well. But it does seem like they kind of saw the way people were reacting to Bridget, did some self-crit. And I'm not saying that the original story was wrong at all. I'm saying it was the start of a very thoughtful arc that led to something that was genuinely massively impactful.
Yeah.
People, I know plenty of people who take real solace from where they ended up with Bridget. And that's awesome. And I definitely agree that, especially considering she's a pretty unimportant side character to be the most important cultural moment in gaming. So
we've turned Girl Kai Kiski into an important moment in gaming, and we've done it, everyone.
my one issue is it's infuriating that you have to pay money for her.
DLC
She needs to be
DLC's
part
brutal.
of. She needs to be part of the main cast.
Yeah,
They knew
really
that-
grabbing
they knew-
at the pink dollar there. Like,
Well, I mean, this is so like it's so the. Sorry, I just caught that. No, like it really is such the way that fighting games are now, though, where like franchises like Street Fighter or whatever have totally recognized like, oh hey, like eh, the characters that people really like are the main characters we have to include, but also these side characters who we have in these games are ultra popular. We'll release those after the fact. Like, oh, you
Yeah.
don't see your favorite character? There's a reason for that.
yeah.
Oh, great.
because she wasn't in Xrd, was she?
I thought she
I don't
was in
think she
XR, but
was.
I could be
can
very
remember.
wrong about
Yeah.
that. Let's see. Let's see when she showed up. Let's see. Bridget. Guilty Gear. All right. Born to wealthy parents. Okay, that's the whole story. I don't really.
I think she was in Double X and then skipped Xrd for some reason, and then then showed up.
You're
again
right.
in Drive, which
Double
I,
X, double XS.
yeah.
I think that there was like a big push to put her in that one from what I remember, but there was a conspiracy that they'd already done all the work on Dizzy, even though that there'd been a push for Bridget, and so they're just like, yeah, there's more of a fan outcry for Dizzy, so we're doing that. And people are like, no, wrong.
Yeah.
People are saying, "Where's Dizzy?" And we're answering.
I mean, you gotta get your additional Guns N' Roses references in there.
Absolutely. To swing back around to the composer.
Yeah.
I just want to, as not being as familiar with the franchise, and kind of bring it back around to kind of the regular themes of the podcast, is that I particularly love composers that are sort of, I almost said trapped, but that's not the correct word. But they're locked into like a particular franchise or company that if you don't know any of the ArcSys stuff, you're never gonna encounter any of this music. But you dip in and you realize that an entire world has been created within the franchise of Guilty Gear, and it's an incredible, robust. makes me think of the composer of the Command and Conquer games that we did a couple episodes back, who is certainly in a different vein, but still had similar just incredible chops. But you're never gonna hear most of his music, even though he's been a little bit more branched out than Daisuke. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I just love that about sort of like exploring these different soundtracks and games. Is that you're just like it's to the people who know, and
Yeah.
I think outside of it, you're not, even with the Bridget memes and stuff, I feel like the town inside of me doesn't break through nearly as much. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's super fun.
Well, I think that's sort of like you can see that microcosm with Guilty Gear within the FGC, and then the FGC within sort of gaming as a whole. That they're all sort of
Totally.
like their own sort of little islands of experience. And like yeah, you could go your whole life playing fighting games and never sort of touch a Guilty Gear game, and
Right, and you could
um,
do that. You could do that by way of like being explicitly opposed to them, or because you just don't.
yeah,
Like you
you
could just like
you're
not
just like, oh,
encounter
I'm a
them.
Street Fighter player, so I
Yeah,
just go down and
I
play
don't
the
know how to
latest
play
Street
that.
Fighter. Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
like being embarrassed.
I don't have time to learn how to air dash.
That's me with Skullgirls. Like, played it long enough for someone to completely embarrass me and be like, well, I
So,
have much better things to do with my time.
so are the tribes separated? Is it like, quarter circle punch tribe? The more
Not really.
Not
Like,
quite, no.
yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of crossover. I would say
Yeah,
that the big, like, I mean, someone like oh, what's his name? Their name, I forget. Sonic.
Sonic
Why am I?
Fox.
Thank you, Sonic Fox. God, um, who's maybe the best in the fighting game scene right now,
Mhm.
or at least certainly the most diverse in
Mm,
terms of gaming uh, chops. Like, I think you'll see people like Sonic Fox do place first in Mortal Kombat and in Guilty Gear and in something like like
Dragon
top
Balls.
three and yeah Tekken whatever.
Yeah.
But also I think really the divide tends to be every game and Smash. So Smash players, and then like you know standard fighters like Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, uh, Samurai Showdown, or whatever, and 2D anime fighters, which are just like a lot of people will move away from the technicality of those games and just kind of go for execution
Mm,
in Street Fighter or Tekken. Like that is basically it's sort of like I mean, if you were to do a music analogy, it would be sort of the difference between um, people who were into like very ornate kind of like technical jazz versus someone who wanted to play like a Bill Withers backing track. It's like very well, so someone could solo over it.
yeah.
Okay, so it's like technical jazz versus maybe more rock, and then it's shower doesn't shower with Smash. So we've got our two sides.
I mean, they're not beating the allegations just yet, so
Yeah,
uh,
I apologize for making the easiest joke in game.
I do appreciate with these songs in the first block. I appreciate how like metal. I mean, the Maze song is very much not a metal song. It's sort of like
Mm,
I mean, I guess if it was to be a metal song, you'd say it's closest to like something like Heart, but
yeah.
Even Heart is harder than that, which is fine. It's pretty cool. It's a great song,
Yeah.
but like I love how Soul and Kai's songs kind of like have like like a thrash metal and then a kind of like sort of almost like
Like a hair metal.
orchestral or yeah hair metal, yeah. It's just cool. Like it is the kind of taste of someone whose favorite band would be Queen, who came up in that era.
Yeah.
um and it's neat seeing it actually produced without sort of like an ironic smile, right?
Yeah, there's definitely like there's no sense of irony. It's sincere love of this music. You can really hear it in how these tracks are put together.
Yeah.
That's part of the
Absolutely.
game is there being no irony.
Yeah.
You're just plopped right into the middle of it, and you either have to Yeah, it's really adapt or die. Adapt or go to Mortal Kombat. It's
Where you'll die.
exactly.
All right. So we'll jump into the next block anyway. So from so again, it's track music by Daisuke Ishiwatari, vocals by Naoki Hashimoto. So the first track we have is "Play the Hero," which is the Chip Zanuck theme.
Yeah.
Then we have "Rock Parade," which is the Anji Mito theme, and then last we have "Requiem," which is the Eno theme.
I stopped counting so long ago. Enemies keep coming after me. Still acknowledge, yeah, you got it all. If you ask me, yeah, it's all a game of chance. Don't know the thinking. Life never goes that way that you want. That's how it is. No matter what life throws that you take it on. Whoa, fight like a tiger, walk in the park. Play the hero till I die. Fly like an eagle, soar through the sky. Be free till you die. I don't believe in any miracles. I risk a lot any day. Gambling's only for fools. Take nothing for granted. If you don't seize the chance, it's over for you. Life never goes the way you want. That's how it is. No matter what happens, face it all head on. Whoa, fight like a tiger, walk in the park. Play the hero till I die. Fly like an eagle, soar through the sky. Be free till you die. Life is about swimming against the harshest wave. The moment you give in, you'll get wiped out. Oh, fight like a tiger, walk in the park. Play the hero till I die. Fly like an eagle, soar through the sky. Be free till you die. Fight like a tiger. Fight like a tiger. Fly like an eagle, soar through the sky. Be free. Till I die. rock, parade, the battle cry. On my last night with you, the trickster was more rock, parade. Now it's just a few footsteps on the two small ones that live. Darkness and silence that don't really the shadows sleep. The night that was only enough to last a lifetime. Words I need to turn into facts. Battle cry. All the sound and light seem to be blessing us. Rock, parade, the battle cry. On my last night with you, the trickster was born. Rock, parade. The music that's a finish never landing in my head. Promise I made to you. Promise I made to you. Now a single footstep carries through my heart. I'm still chasing one. I'm still chasing Keep trying to reach the other side of the unreachable goal. Whereas I want to turn into wax battle cry. All the sound and light seem to be blessing us. Rock, parade, the battle cry. On my last night with you, the trickster was born. Was born. Rock, parade. Can you feel the night? Would it be one? It must be bright, like a raging fire. When the sky cries in April, the flowers and trees smile with me. The time that passes tells me many lovely things, but I can't feel it. Cut it out! I threw my soul that I could see everything. Yeah. Cut it out! I wasn't on the road. I had to stop. There is no up or down above the clouds, and I can't breathe. We are falling down slowly, like snow and bright graffiti, fading away in the watercolor. Without resisting. Let's take some strawberries and go to the hill. If you want to see fireworks bring at you the sky. The pictures in my head tell me a lot of stories. None of this is real. Cut it out! I by, leaving all the pain fading away in the warm glow.
One thing I do want to sort of jump back a bit about and just to talk about Daisuke, and just in how he sort of is mixing genres here with regards to metal. Um, like you mentioned how like the start, Trev, just how like there's some stuff that's very proggy, some stuff is like sort of Sonata Arctica kind of shit.
Yeah.
And like I think it's really really cool that like even though he's working in sort of um in genres that are often resistant to sort of being put outside of their categories, that he's just willing to just like take a track and like this bit is like groove metal and then he's going to switch it up and then the next bit is just going to be like symphonic metal and like and sort of playing around with that and like even like say the for like the May track that we listened to in the previous block, just having like pop vocals over a very sort of heavy track,
Yeah.
is kind of interesting. And I like that he's sort of given himself the freedom to do that. It gets you get really really interesting stuff like the second track in the block there, Rock Parade. I was mentioning that like it reminds me a lot of like modern J rock, like Oral Cigarettes and stuff like that. Um, but there's also bits of that where it like breaks down and like you get like weird samurai noises and all that kind of shit going on in it as well. So it's like, again,
Once you have a
just
samurai character, if you don't have a thing doing the
doing the
ding
kaboom
ding ding
noises.
ding, yeah, you're not you simply aren't serious.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate these tracks a lot because like it again like I don't know. There's something ineffable about the music in Guilty Gear, and I think it's that the it is metal by way of like an extremely long lens. Like
Mm,
there's metal in here that I think a lot of people who like metal would be like, well, that's not metal.
yeah.
Like that's something else. Or like, no, that's not this. This is that. And there are like 6 people I've ever met who are just like, no, it's all metal.
Yeah.
And I guess
Yeah.
Daisuke is one of them. Like
Yeah.
he's very interested in it all. And to hear someone compose something that's like equally adept within technical stuff and then like a real chuddy sort of like plus like gang vocals and stuff. It's I mean it's kind of virtuoso work. It's fascinating.
It's sort of a theme that we've come across a lot with this show as well. Just sort of when we're talking about game music, how it can often be unafraid to sort of to go outside of genre, and sort of like genre in terms of like scene and sort of culturally, you often find, and I think metal is one of the worst sort of offenders for it, where you do get those people who are like, this is not metal because of these specific reasons, like this is hard rock, and you can't call this metal. Like you get that kind of shit with it, whereas like when you get somebody who's like Daisuke, where they're just like, no, this is all metal, I don't give a fuck,
Right,
and they're
right.
just willing to just throw it all into the blender and just be like, okay, what's coming out. I think you get some really, really interesting results with that.
No, I
If,
totally agree.
if you don't kill one of your band members in a church, it's not metal, it's hard rock, it's
Yeah.
for girls.
Yeah, listen, none of I wonder which Guilty Gear character is burned down in church, and I have to say, probably
I
none
mean,
of them, which is
I'm gonna say
unfortunate.
most of them have probably done it. Like,
Wow, this is
Yeah.
I
the
mean,
two approaches.
Well, they did. None of them like lit the fire for the church. They were responsible for several city blocks where there was a church.
I guess that's true.
Getting
They're much
getting
more
bombed.
destructive than Samoth was.
yeah.
Suppose yeah,
Um,
Emperors has nothing on them.
but you just like one of the main sort of factions in the game is a church. So like,
Oh well, there you go.
I
Yeah.
think by virtue of fighting against a church, you're going to end up burning a couple.
Burn. Beware he who fights churches, lest he burn one down.
Yeah.
The famous Nietzsche quote.
In fact, I think probably if in anything, you probably do it yourself in Guilty Gear 2, the only non-fighting game in the series, the one that's like weirdly just a character action game for some reason, and a very cool character action game to be clear, but like it was a weird sort of left turn that one was.
I love the immediate crisis of faith after Guilty Gear 1. Like, fighting game, what was I thinking? Hopefully I can salvage this.
Oh God. Yeah, so one thing I did want to mention, and we sort of we talked about it a little bit in the green room before we started, but it's currently, as we're recording, Combo Breaker is on, and
We love
so
Combo
obviously,
Breaker. Lots of friends of the No Cartridge
Mm,
podcast, Combo Breaker.
yeah, I was going to say, were you not planning to go this year, or I
I
know you've
you know
been
what?
previously.
I have been previously, and like the funny thing is, it's so annoying. It's not annoying, it's fine. But we used to go. I used to go every year because we would visit Illinois to see relatives also right
Mm,
over Memorial Day, which is when it always is. And now that the kids are in school, they're in school, so we don't do that. So I haven't been in a little bit, but I really
yeah.
would like to go again. I genuinely love I love Combo Breaker. I think it's I've written a little bit about it
Mm,
and podcast a little about it. I just think everyone up there who does the work, and I'm forgetting her name right now, who I know and have talked to like a million times, but the fabulous Girly W, um, it just does amazing organizational work over there. And people from the podcast will go up. It's like it is maybe one of the most friendly. I mean, this is the weird thing about this is the weird thing about fighting games is that like you'll find maybe the most like supportive and kind group of people in the fighting game competition scene that you find in any video games. Like you'd think, or I'd think, like looking at something like a MOBA, right? Like, okay, well,
yeah,
if people are bad in this, they're going to be really bad in a game where it's like two people fighting each other one on one, and the opposite could not be further from the truth, or the truth couldn't be further from that. Like it's cool. Everyone supports you, even if you're terrible, which I of course am.
yeah.
Girly Girly W would sign me up for a couple of spots, and just for press's sake, and would always lose. I think I won one half match one time.
I mean,
That's
that's
terrible.
like, fighting games are built on the people who come and go as 0-2 in every match, and just show up to build those numbers. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it rules. It's so fun. Like it is exhilarating, and you also get to then watch people who are just like I'm a big sports guy for my sins, and I don't know if I've enjoyed video games in the same way as sports Not to the same extent. I enjoyed both probably equally, but like in the same way outside of the fighting game scene. Like if you watch like Guilty Gear competitively, um, and there's always places to watch it, but like it can be, especially with a crowd, like you'll find yourself like loudly cheering for like a reversal. Like, have you ever seen that famous video um from Evo where there's like a 16 parry move?
Oh, the
You know,
Evo
some
Moment 37,
yeah, Evo Moment 37.
Yeah.
Like if you've never seen that, anyone listening, like the reaction that people have in that video, you're thinking like, oh wow, that's like kind of outsized. It is not. You get that into it. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable rooting for like the top people on the big screens and all too. It's
Yeah.
neat. It's a fantastic experience.
Yeah, no, I've absolutely found that to be
Energy.
the case in the scene here in Ireland as well. Before COVID, I was very involved in the fighting game scene here, and I would run tournaments and stuff like that in locally here in Cork. But yeah, like just as a community, I've found that you always get your assholes, and
Oh sure.
that's just part and parcel of being part of any community. But for the most part, it's so accepting. Everybody's willing to sort of to help and give advice, and and it's I've noticed it in Ireland and across the world. Like it is just like it's one of the nicer communities, despite the sort of nature of the games.
Yeah, more people of color, more trans people, more
Mm,
like just like and it seems like people are just more open to that kind of thing in the fighting game community. Again, completely not what I expect.
yeah.
Now I can't speak to the Smash community. I don't know. Just kidding. I'm sure they're nice too.
Yeah, every time I've been at a con, and I just cruise by whatever fighting game or even like League of Legends for as much as that is justifiably roastable. It's a different energy that
Yeah.
you can't help but get swept up in, even if you have no idea what's going on. You're just like, no, yeah, fuck that crocodile. I don't know what's happening, but I'm with everybody here.
Yeah,
Um,
watching the comebacks at those kind of things are just like so much fun. It's just like, no, could they do it? Oh my god.
Yeah, it's like, I love something like Final Fantasy 14. You'll be deeply moved, but you're not going to get hype in the same way.
Not in the same way,
different.
no.
Mm, that's cool. All right. So yeah, we'll jump into the next block of tracks. So I've just got two in this one because they're both a little bit longer, more going down the prog route in terms of length and style for these ones. So I sort of quarantined them off a little bit. So the first track I have is Armor-clad Faith, which is the Potemkin theme. And then I have the Necessary Discrepancy, which is Ram Lethal's theme.
I'm a cloud of fire. take the role of a silly clown, but I won't turn my back on life. One day I'll be rock forward. All I do is embrace the world that's full. your belly and a will. Get up in the region.
Prog by way of the hold steady now.
God, the fucking design for Ram Lethal with that
That's
as
so
well.
good.
Yeah, it's like it's so excessive in a way that like again like I feel like you can't look at Guilty Gear Strive without sort of seeing how the series sort of filtered itself through Blaze Blue.
Mm.
Like that is such a Blaze Blue ass design, that character. And like, as I mentioned, like the way the music sounds now versus how it did in the PS2 games on Double X. Um, like it really feels like he allowed himself that freedom because he went off to do Blaze Blue for like 10 years and forgot about Guilty Gear,
No,
and then
that
came
totally
back
makes
to it
sense.
to sort of be like, okay, now this I've had my palate cleansed and I've sort of explored things a bit, and now I'm ready to fucking to do my masterwork, which is Guilty Gear Strive.
Well, it's less of a, it really is his masterwork. But it's less of like a gimmick, right? Like
Mm,
if you listen to those old Guilty Gear songs, it feels like a gimmick. It feels like,
it's a
almost
pastiche
like,
often more than anything else. Yeah.
yeah, like, do you remember the old like stage themes in Street Fighter 2? I don't know,
Mm,
Reese, you played Street Fighter 2? You were talking about it during the songs.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was the one that touched us all.
yeah,
yeah.
of course. But like all the songs in those, like, you wouldn't say like, I mean, I loved the music in Guile stage, but you wouldn't say the music in Guile stage was like effective, like metal, or like, like a good song in like the even in terms of like trying to ape something like Danger Zone. It's just kind of like, you know what does America sound like musically? What
Yeah.
does Russia sound like musically? And I think like Guilty Gear is basically like, well, what does this guy look like metal wise? Like, what would that look like? And I think ultimately that's way less interesting than what he's doing here with, like, actually making these songs and making them real and kind of like feel cogent in a certain like really interesting way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I can agree mostly with that. I do think Guile State is a good song.
Oh no, I agree. I think it's great. I think it's a great.
Let's be
It
clear
doesn't.
before we start getting letters. Kyle's theme is fucking great.
The only stage that really even remotely challenges it for me is Ken's stage, which also
Mm,
both America songs in that game, just absolute bangers.
Yeah. But there's a real broadness to it that I can certainly agree with. That is like there is a robustness to the Guilty Gear music, at least in Strive, but it's not broad. It feels like it feels niche in a way that only this composer can put together, and sort of like raises it up, and sort of like it's very interesting how it sort of imbues that kind of style versus I think more classic music, because it's like the music in Street Fighter, as good as it is, it kind of fades to the background, and I feel
Totally.
like when I play, I only dabbled in it, but I feel like the music in Guilty Gear is so much more fucking present in the process. It's its own element a lot more.
I think kind of going back to what Tom was talking about a little while ago about, I forget if this was when the songs were on or not, but like about how the songs themselves, and you mentioned this too, Reese, like the songs themselves kind of telling these stories and almost like doing the work of personification, in their lyrics, in their progressions, and the way that things are delivered and all. Like there is sort of like you could argue that Strive is basically Daisuke being willing to do like a concept album finally, like like this,
Yeah.
him being like, okay, well, I'm comfortable enough in like double X, I'm sorry, no, Exard Revelator or Strive to be like, yeah, listen, like I can do it, like I can make this my own thing, I can get as weird as I want with this. I think like there is a kind of, there's a lot of discussion about how without kind of a monoculture, things are getting like progressively more niche to the point that it like almost everything kind of rolls off everyone, and it's
Mhm.
it like that. It's certainly worth talking about, but like I think one of the benefits of something like that is that you can see something like this, and you can watch someone like Daisuke be like, you know what, this is niche, but I think it has a place. Like I don't think people are going to reject this outright. I think the people who want to experience this are going to find it, because it really does feel like, if you found anything about Guilty Gear like eye rolly or stupid, you would avoid Strive like the plague.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just it up to infinity. And I don't know. There's something really brave about that. I think you're right that it had to happen after like many years of success with Blaze Blue.
I really love the idea of the Guilty Gear, the later Guilty Gear music being a concept album for the game itself. That's really amazing, and I think it's true. There is something very specific about it, and not to repeat what's been said too much, but the sort of like the character that it imbues into the world, and each character. We're coming up on Bridget's song, and as much as I loved Bridget, and learning that the creator of the series, kind of gave a bunch of definitive statements about it,
That was cool.
actually sitting down and listening to the town inside of me was like deeply moving. Like it's a great song, and a song that is the content of the song is deeply relevant to the whole Bridget thing. And so I think that it's true that there is a element of, a lot. It's very easy for a lot of different stuff to roll off one's back. I think Guilty Gear, it's very easy to not to avert your eyes from Guilty Gear, because it's just too much to stare deeply into it. But I do think that like with the mastery of the composer of Daisuke, is manages not only it to make it something successful, but to kind of like raise it up, being like, this is a fertile environment for me, to just steamroll everything else, and to just have the Guilty Gear music be like so singular and special, at least in my experience.
No, I agree with you, and I think like you can point to stuff like I'm just actually my eyes alighted on it on my desk, so please excuse me if like this is tortured, but it seems not tortured to me because I just saw it. But it reminds me of like I just finished not unfortunately not Rebirth yet, but I just finished Final Fantasy VII Remake, and
Hell yeah.
I feel like the music in that too has like the same sort of crystalline purpose of like sense of purpose, where it's like, okay, listen, we know what this is supposed to do. We've done this before. We've been able to revise and resubmit, and we understand like exactly the direction and target of this stuff. And I think Reese, you're absolutely right. Like it just accomplishes what it sets out to do so well. Like Guilty Gear Strive, it in the same way, and perhaps even more of a pointed way.
I don't think that's tortured because I just played Rebirth and I totally fucking agree with you.
Yes. Yes.
Seven was the final, as a big Final Fantasy head. 7 was one of the ones I've had the most difficulty connecting with, at least compared to culture at large. And playing Rebirth and just being like, this might be my Final Fantasy now in terms of like just the music and the representation of the characters. I'm like totally ready to drop the PSX version in my heart. And I totally agree that there's just like, they just knew what it was with that music and had to nail it. And so I don't have anything else to, insightful to add. I'm just agreeing.
Any agreement with me is extremely insightful.
Excellent.
Yeah, no, I definitely have to agree with that as well, and not just because you just said that. I know I feel like I could probably talk about Final Fantasy VII for a long time, so I don't want to. Yeah, maybe for a future episode, I would like to do Final Fantasy VII
just keep
remake.
popping on.
But that's a conversation for another time, I think. But yeah, so we have one more block, so I just want to jump into that quickly before we finish up, because we're running nearly on 2 hours now. So this last block is all tracks from the DLC. So as mentioned, there was a big grab for the pink dollar, with both Bridget and Testament being DLC characters, and also a new character called Gold Lewis, who I'm very fascinated by his whole deal. But I haven't bought the DLC for the game. I've only played the base game, so I don't really know how he works. But he seems quite interesting.
He's the Secretary of Defense.
Which yeah,
So.
an
Fair enough.
interesting, yeah. Yeah, because I don't know which one of you mentioned that at the start that like the president of the United States is a character in this game. Like, but yeah, it will be funny to also have the Sec Def to be in there as well.
Well, I mean, at a certain point, yeah.
Yeah,
You wouldn't want someone who wasn't a competent Street Fighter in your cabinet.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
certainly in this universe, yeah.
Yeah, the next battle pass for Strive is just going to be filling out the rest of the cabinet.
All right, so we have so the Gold Lewis theme, which is the first track, is The Kiss of Death. Then we have Like a Weed, Naturally as a Matter of Course, which is the
Amazing
Testament
title.
theme, incredible title. And then lastly, the Bridget theme called The Town Inside Me.
Airborne, that wave.
It's not a big deal. We can handle it. I don't have to think about it. What we need to do is clear. Don't you think? I don't know any other answer than yeah, and I don't need to know. Now it's your turn. Cat got your time. I'm ready for this one to punch you. Work and burn. It's a very counter. kiss of death. I'm sorry about that. You thought it through. I don't have to think about it. 'Cause there's those who believe. What about you? When I'm older, do I do anything? I want to keep it that way. Now it's your turn. Could get your time. I'm for Bark and a bark is the way counters. Only with that no one knows. Bark and a bark, keep going, that's the last sound you ever hear. The kiss of death. It's not Timo's secret dishes life. He just doesn't defy the gravity of something. Life, each running each other, ubiquity. Life, she doesn't need a name to distinguish him. Oh, she flies through the proud darkness, rather than the breathless vastness of the world. And yet, they didn't only tell the heart of herself. He believes she's won all again. It's no exception, it's just less. I guess you can't cross a gentle tiger. Life, is running each other, ubiquity. Radiant, existence. He doesn't need a name to rule us all. Afraid of the wind. Order of spring. Of the driftwood, take the night from the Oh, he flies to be the wings of the flightless, fly high to be seen from everywhere. She just tells them he's the without whispering. He believes she's one of a chain. Oh, he flies through the crowd, darkness, rather than the breathless vastness of the world. And yet she reaches the light himself. She believes he's flying at night to see the sun of tomorrow. He never wanted that special day. She just wanted to be there like a wind, naturally, as a matter of course. He believes we're one. Overchain. She believes we're one.
Down inside me and everyone's voice. Only I'm not there, just watching from afar. I can't go home because I'm afraid something will change. Me without me, I'm the one to blame. I moved on by my own will. I had nothing else I wanted to do. Was it hard? But I didn't hate it. I did not even like it. I've been patient, but it was bearable. I've had the gray haze for a long time though. I never found out what it was. It's my stress, that's for sure. I never wanted to run away. I was very motivated. Then what is this feeling? Who would I ask? I've been patient, but it was bearable. I've had the gray haze for a long time though. I never found out what it was. I taste like vegetables I don't like. The down inside me and everyone's voice. Only I'm not there, just watching from afar. I can go home, cause I'm afraid something will change. Me without me, I'm the one to blame. I'm not waiting for Santa Claus. I already have the gift, just can't open the box. I know all about it, no one can solve it unless I decide to do something about it. It's not even a case. I've been patient, but it was bearable. I've had the gray haze for a long time though. I never found out what it was. I hate the alarm clock I chose. The town inside me and everyone's voice. Only I'm not there, just watching from afar. I can go home because I'm afraid something will change. Me without me, I'm the one to blame.
What an absolutely joyful song that is.
Seriously.
Beautiful.
It's really lovely. Yeah, I was saying during the break there that I did struggle a bit to find a copy of this before the episode, but I'm really glad that I was able to because like it's such a fun song. It's very different to pretty much anything else in the soundtrack, and we were laughing a bit as well, just how the guitar sort of comes in at the end, just to be like, oh, Daisuke hasn't shredded in 16 minutes. He's starting to get a bit antsy. Like,
Whenever Daisuke playing guitar isn't on screen, people should be asking, "Where's Daisuke playing guitar?"
Exactly. Now, when Bridget's eggs crack, and then egg cracks, and then the rest of it is, and then it remains for the rest of the song. She's accepted. She's a cowgirl, etc. Yeah, it's incredible. Trev, thank you so much for picking this song, this soundtrack, just to give me the opportunity to actually sit down and listen to the town inside me on top of
Oh,
everything else.
Absolutely. No, I was
I would have. I probably never would have. I would have continued to be afeared of Guilty Gear. Otherwise.
there's nothing to fear. There's nothing to fear in Guilty Gear. It's all vibes. Yeah, I was really interested actually in both of your, especially yours, Reese, about like this track and Bridget and stuff. I find like her whole arc so interesting, and I mean we talked about it before in the show, but like I just think it's cool that like we got one video game arc that feels positive all the way through. Like I like after playing so many Atlas games and loving Shin Megami Tensei and all this stuff, and then like every so often I need to be like, oh god, just like get past this one part.
Yeah.
Like to get something in a game where like I love the aesthetic, I love the story, I love the game itself, and then like they're just like, and you know what, like here's a very humanist and like kind approach to this character's story. That's just, it was so cool.
It's really pitch perfect, I think, too, because although she is very inspirational, and she has driven many people fucking insane. It's like it's like addressed. It's part of her character, but it's also not totally what she's about. She's got her bounty hunter storyline. She's all about her yo-yo tricks and stuff. She's a person, and that's kind of like way more in the forefront. And I feel like it is tough for any media in general, to be honest, but definitely games to strike that tone without being, not just weird about it, but sort of like not being able to create the character on top of it.
Yeah.
It's honestly okay to be weird about it. It's the inability to create the character that's so frustrating, and just to have something that's so wholesome and has so many great little moments on top of it, like just the town inside me being a real departure from the rest of the soundtrack, but being pitch perfect and having a really kind of not terribly on the nose, but lyrics and a vibe that embody that journey. It's great.
Yeah, I liked the way that I mean, just coming from obviously a cis perspective, but like coming from there, like looking at the way that Daisuke like in the lyrics in this song, they're about identity, they're about being unsure, they're about like not entirely knowing who you are and what you're doing, and like being a little scared about that and stuff. And I think like that's a very rock and roll metal kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's not crazy to have lyrics like that, just period. The fact that it ties into her story in terms of our identity, like just kind of like it's a nice, like, I don't know, it just fits, and it wasn't like he was doing it to make it fit and be like, oh, see, I get it, I'm cool, I'm an ally. Like it's just the song about her, and it works, as you say, like it's pitch perfect to the character.
Exactly.
Even like the tone and all really works for the character. So like a lot of these do. I think especially with something that has been done so badly by so many other pieces of media, to sort of like talk about a trans person in like terms of them just being a person is so effectively is like it does sort of it sort of shames the rest of the crowd a little bit into like being like, well, like what were you up to here? Why couldn't
I
you do this?
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and I think this it's I don't know the process of writing the song. I am certainly unfamiliar with his identity, but at the same time, I feel like he does put uh, a lot of other creators to shame just because it seems like it's a cis perspective,
Hmm.
writing wise. Off the bat. But I feel like just being able to approach it normally and approach it from a character, you've created a successful trans character that has made a huge impact. You don't need, I would certainly like more trans writers out there, more trans creators being successful,
Of
but you
course.
don't have to, it doesn't, it's not as complicated as people would make it think. It's this one aspect of things,
Mhm.
and other than that, it's they're the same as everybody else. And he was really able
Yeah.
to dial into the the reality of it, and just like the only reason it is a big deal is because the world freaks out about it, not because it's necessarily such an essential part of things. And so, like, I think you see that in the arc, and especially, like, we talked about before the kind of origins of, she wanted in, I think, the original storyline, it was much more about her being a boy, and that's sort of where the uh, initial thing about it. And there was a thing about the parents forcing Bridget to behave like that, and sort of like, it could have made that turn, like I'm
Mhm.
repeating myself, but the fact that just making that arc and thinking about it and just making it part of the character, like, it's really compelling. And it's just like, just taking this really human, sympathetic tack to it is super compelling. And I agree, it is very kind of what metal should be, what rock should be, is these
Yeah.
kind of like, breaking of the barriers, even if
Well, it's like, like I think, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I feel like one of the most surprising people that I've seen show sort of solidarity with trans rights and stuff has been Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. Like, I feel
Mhm.
like Dee Snider has had some decent politics on this, which I'm saying out loud and sounds like I have to be wrong, but I think that's true. And I think like part of it has been like that approach of saying like the whole point of like we're not going to take it is that like we're just our own people and like you can't tell us who to be and this is who we are. And it's like, isn't that like the whole idea? Like, shouldn't we be supporting people and be like, yeah, you know what, like if that's who you are, that's who you are. And it's like, you're right, it's a cis perspective. It like, having that perspective is it doesn't get to a lot of like the heart of a number of like really important issues, which is why we need trans writers. But it's also not impossible to just like have sympathy with someone and be like, if I was in your shoes, I think I'd feel really pissed off that people were treating me different or like thought I wasn't a person or whatever. Like I don't know. Like I feel like the sort of like uncle like the cis uncle approach of like, hey, you know what, you're cool with me. It's like, you know what? That's fine. On some level, it's much better than what a lot of people are giving.
The cis uncle approach is the perfect way of putting it. During the whole Bud Light fiasco, there was that viral video of that guy that, like, it seemed like a drunk guy just being like, "Let trans people do what they want. It's just Bud Light. Like, what the fuck?" I feel like that is
That's him.
the
Yeah.
energy that we're going for here. Um, and it's certainly, and I don't want to, I do kind of want to underscore the importance, again, of there needing to be more trans creators,
Absolutely.
so to kind of deal with the more sort of like issue specific stuff, like you said. I don't want to discount that, but it's just like, it's not difficult, it really isn't. And it's uh
Well,
and,
there
and
is,
it's great to see, and it's so, and it's just
yeah.
there's a reason why this hit so hard.
Well, there's something valuable about there's something valuable about obviously there's something valuable about being having trans writers represented, but there's also something really valuable about like trans characters being in just like media, right? Like
Yeah.
like being like, oh yeah, there's like a trans character. This is not like a huge deal. They're just trans. Like that's a huge. I mean, it's kind of goofy and like liberal coded and whatever to say, but like that's a big part of sort of like normalizing and making something okay in the eyes of people so that people don't get harassed or hurt or stuff like that too. So like,
Mm.
yeah, I mean, I think you can have both for sure.
Absolutely, and I think it's an example of, you know, a cis creator listening to the trans people in the audience
Mm-hmm.
rather than, because, you know, Bridget has, you know, has had a kind of heinous side to the culture, especially before Strive. So it's, you know, it not leaning into the sort of femboy fetishization stuff.
Right.
Not that was ever a direction they would go, but it's just like
It's
they
the
were
direction they could have
correct
gone.
people to listen
Yeah.
to in this, and they listened to the trans people, and so, you know, that is, I think, an element of it as well.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I won't. I don't think we'll keep you much longer, Trev. So, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast with us.
Oh,
Yeah,
of
thank
course. It was a
I
blast.
think
Thanks for
both
having me.
myself and Reese, sort of since we started, we were like, we got to get Trev to come on at some point.
Well, I'm really
Yeah,
happy
yeah.
I've been able to do it. This was a treat.
Yeah. No, we definitely love to have you back on again in future if you're down
Anytime.
as well.
Yeah, just let me know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you have anything you want to plug
I do a
or
podcast
anything?
called No Cartridge.
Yeah.
That's about it. You can check that out. The Patreon has new stuff on it, so it's patreon.com/no cartridge. Um, I'm sometimes streaming. I wrote a book a long time ago called Story Mode. You can check that out too if you want. What else? No, that's about it.
Not you know, not to blow smoke up your ass, Trev, but I do think everybody should really check out No Cartridge.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
It is really, I think, one of the it some would say the sort of leftist video game podcast. I wouldn't say that because I have a leftist video game podcast, but many
Well, yeah.
would say.
But some people who are a
and-
little less considerate than you about
Yeah,
this excellent
exactly.
podcast might say that, and that's
they
rude.
always really compelling discussion about
Oh,
sort of
thank you.
culture and games, and
Mm.
I have, and by far the most normal discussion of Danganronpa I've heard by far, which is honestly going in the Gamer Book of World Records as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, this is the first time that Sam Sheehan has been called normal in range of Danganronpa ever, so I'm sure his cheeks are burning. No, but thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
We are grading on the curve.
Reese, what have you got going on? If you've got any plugs,
You can follow me at Twitter or Blue Sky at Reese V Ryder if you would just like heinous emotional tweets, or if you would like good content. You should check out Video Games Are the Worst Thing on Earth, my leftism podcast where we are brimming with rage and mental illness. And yeah, check out Existential Warfare, my personal podcast that I release about 2 episodes a year, but you know,
Getting
I
there.
still think it's good. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Fantastic. Yeah. As for ourselves, we're on Patreon as well. You can go patreon.com/CRT Sound System. We've got bonus episodes up there as well as higher bitrate downloads if that's your jam. Come and hang out with us in the Discord. If you want to come there, we've always got something going on in there. If we've got a link tree, so go to linktree/CRT Sound System for all the links to all the various social medias. And yeah, that's about it really. If you
Yeah,
want to
come
come
on,
on the pod, come
cast.
on the pod. As we say at the end of every episode, just come on the podcast. We always want to have somebody come
We're
on and tell us
we're
about their
never
weird.
doing the Undertale episode until somebody brings us the Undertale episode. That's
Yeah.
like the most requested episode, and I'm just like, I don't,
Yeah.
I'm not. We need a
Not
sin
wading into
eater.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for Undertale. So yeah, if you're that person, come give us more mental illnesses.
Fantastic. All right. So the last track we've got is just the arcade mode ending theme. It's called The Name of Heaven. And yeah, thank you so much again, Trev.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Good night.
Once there everything comes through. I've heard of such a dreamy place. Do you think my broken wings will heal? Hope so, 'cause I can't fly well. I wonder if this rain will stop one day. Someone's been crying all along. No worries, there's only one road, so I can't get lost. All I have to do is walk. Placed by the name of heaven, the promised land. Everyone is awaiting in a very long line. Placed by the name of heaven, there's a comforting lot. I don't hesitate, just be guided. I wonder how far I have come, and what have I ever done. Alright, well, I'm sure I'll be there soon. All I have to do is walk. Placed by the name of heaven, the promised land. I wonder what was waiting for me. Placed by the name of heaven, there's a comfort in that. I don't hesitate, just be guided. I haven't talked to my heart for a long time. When did I stop flying? Is it a waste of time?